I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
I have a motorsport topic that I would like your opinion on.
You do, from time to time, have that affliction, yes?
Yes, well, you know what I'm like.
I think we all do by now.
Yes. But I know it's not your thing, but it would be the reason I want your take on it is because is it interesting enough to even make you have a look?
Okay, that's a fair question, yeah.
Yeah. It's the big shake-up in Formula One car design.
Okay, not something I know a great deal about, but...
No. It's the primary reason for doing it is to promote better racing. The current cars and aero package make it awkward for close racing because they're so aero dependent that when they get close to another car, the air's so disturbed, the aerodynamic effects are lost.
I have heard this, that they can't follow each other too closely, otherwise it messes it all up. Yeah,
that's it. That's the problem. So they've tried to design that issue out. Whether it becomes a thing or not, then we'll see. But as a casual observer who vaguely knows what a Formula One car looks like,
I've got a vague concept of
I will send you a little link,
okay.
And I'd like to know whether just that concept of closer racing and being able to overtake easier, combined with the way these cars look, is enough to make you go, yeah, go on, and I'll try it.
Well, okay.
There we go. Now, what do you make of that?
Well, now it's a very it's a very interesting livery for a start. It makes your eyes go funny.
It is a bit wonky. That's
all holograms and like shiny bits, and yes,
that's just the mock-up to make you go ooh.
Yes, certainly that was the correct reaction. In terms of the shape of it, it looks to me, as somebody who doesn't really know anything about this, the first thing that strikes me is that it looks like a classic Formula One car. It looks like something from the past, not current. It looks smaller and less fussy, I suppose, less technological, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were going for. Actually, it is a smaller car in general.
Yeah,
and as you say, it is less fussy. The aerodynamics are much simpler.
Yeah, it looks, as I said, if you were to say when is that car from, I would have said, 80s, maybe. I wouldn't have said that was a current racing car. I would have said that was from, a long time ago.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
That's an interesting take.
Perhaps shows it's working if that's what they're going for.
Well, that's exactly what they're after. They were going for a much simpler design because all of the fussiness. I mean, yes, while it works tremendously well, if the car were a single entity on the track, it's just a speed demon. But chuck another 19 along with it, then it's buggered.
Yes.
There's one little detail you might not have spotted. For the first time ever, you'll notice that it's a Formula One car running on low-profile tyres.
Oh, okay. Yes, because there's normally oodles of rubber there, isn't there?
That's right. The sidewall is usually enormous, and I think I'm right in saying they run on 14-inch wheels at the moment, I think.
Okay. I mean, that's a little bit hard to tell from that particular picture, to be fair.
If you scroll down a little, there's a much less fussy livery, so you can see the lines a bit more.
Oh, there we go. Yes. Oh, that's more like, yes, and they've turned the lights on.
Yes.
I can't see it in the other one. Yeah, okay, yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, the wheels, are very different. and
It's
more shrouded in, which presumably has been done for aerodynamics, like you get on a lot of EVs. They're shrouding the wheels in to make them more aerodynamic.
that's right. Yeah, they've put kind of a cowling on the wheel
Yeah.
to make the airflow less disturbed. You'll also notice that I think I'm right in saying for the first time ever, there are now winglets over the front wheels.
Yes, I had noticed those. Yes, there aren't normally anything like that at all.
Mm.
But vintage racing cars from sort of 1920s, 1930s, and even a bit later than that, you always used to have sort of, mud guards, cowlings, whatever you call them, over
That's
the
right.
wheels.
Mm.
Doing away with them was a much more recent thing.
Mm.
Um, it's sort of a back to basics machine, isn't it? It's getting
Well,
back
that's
in
the
touch
hope.
with what Formula One was supposed to be. I
Mm.
mean, that's a criticism I've heard a lot of late, is that it's completely lost its way. Really, it's lost the essence of what Formula One was supposed to be, and you can't tell anymore how good the drivers are because the cars, there's so much
Mm.
technology on them, and they've got traction control and things like that, and it just seems, well, where's the skill? The car's going to sort you out if you get in a mess.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, in recent years they have dialed back the driving age slightly, but I mean,
mm,
it's that thing of going, well, the that winning percentage, so much of it is the car, like you say,
yeah,
which is the
absolutely.
reason. Well, I think I'm right in saying from I think it was 2013 when this current sort of set of rules came in. Mercedes have dominated throughout, purely because they've got big pockets and they happen to get the design right the first time round, really, and have evolved it over
Mm,
time.
yeah.
It's frustrating. I mean, something that really gave it away. I know that you won't particularly care, but when Lewis Hamilton last year tested positive for COVID,
Yeah.
they subbed in George Russell. They borrowed him from Williams because he's paid by Mercedes anyway, so it
Right.
was a
Okay.
straight swap. And he
Yeah.
went from the worst car on the grid to the best car on the grid, and performed superbly.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's look, we can only hope that these rule changes do bring the driver slightly more to the fore.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Whether it's a good driver or a bad driver, the car is masking all the skill of the individual because of all the technology. What are we really watching here? Are we watching, is this a race between manufacturers or the drivers? Well, the drivers don't really get a chance to show whether they're any good or not because the car is doing so much of it for them.
This is true.
Um,
I tell you a really good example, actually. If you compare Formula One to its two-wheeled equivalent,
hmm,
MotoGP,
yeah.
you'll notice that fan allegiance is very different. You could say that in Formula One, people tend to be drawn towards a team. Yes, they'll support a driver,
Hmm.
but you'll see people passionate about team. Because, like you said, is it a display of manufacturer or is it a display of driver?
Now, that's a very interesting point, actually. Yeah.
But in the world of motorbikes, because the rider is such a dominant part of the machine,
Hmm.
the fan allegiance is to the riders, not to
The
the
rider, and there's
manufacturers.
barely any mention of what manufacturer they're riding for.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's while we all know which bike they're on, no one gets excited. No one says, "Oh, look, the Honda one." They don't say
No.
that. They say Marquez one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost irrelevant what manufacturer they happen to be riding for.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's massively important for the manufacturers themselves because they've got their own championship with their own points as they do in Formula One. But
Yeah.
it's I suppose it's like you can see them making a difference, so you cheer for them rather than the machine.
Yeah, which is always where Formula One was when it started, of course. It was about the individual drivers.
Mm.
And it was a dangerous sport. That's why the prizes were so big.
Mm.
Because they really were putting their lives on the line. Whereas now the prizes have stayed big, but are they really putting their lives on the line? I mean,
I mean, ordinarily I'd say no. At the
hmm,
end of last year, however, there was that horrific I mean, freak accident in Bahrain where Grosjean went through the barrier.
Blimey, that's quite an unusual occurrence these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't a case of the barrier splitting in two and opening up and letting the car through. The barrier is made of horizontal portions, just like you'd find on the motorway, for instance.
Yeah.
And his car went through those.
Oh.
It basically went through one of the gaps. The car kind of, the car separated right between the engine portion and the driver's cell.
It sort of speared its way through. Yeah.
And went, it was just a fireball. And fortunately, he was, aside from just some iffy burns on his hands, he was absolutely fine. Really have no idea how, but
he was. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's the closest we've come to a real good God moment in Formula One in quite some time.
In a long time, yes, absolutely. And I have heard that criticism a lot, that it's kind of become a bit too watered down and a bit too, safe, and there's no real risk to it anymore, and there's no real skill to it anymore because the cars kind of do most of it. And there's a lot of people, I think, who've kind of fallen out of love with it. It's not really, it's not really doing it for them anymore.
No, and for a long time, I really struggled with it. Yeah, it's the main reason for really generating interest in it this year is because after being locked down, and you think, well, anything that could provide a glimmer of entertainment, I'll watch. And I've just happened to have struck it at a year where Mercedes are just wavering a little bit, and there's actually competition. So
there's actually some competition for a change. That's
good timing.
That's got to be a good thing. Well, I think this can only be a positive development for the sport. Would it make me watch it?
That's the question.
I don't know that it would, to be honest. I still
no.
No, I don't think it would, to be honest. I applaud what they do. I approve of what they're doing with it. I think that's a good thing, that they're going to make it a bit more real again.
I'll tell you what then.
Not to minimise the safety aspect that they've worked into it. That I know, was it Jackie Stewart who campaigned for a lot of that after some bad crashes originally?
Yeah, he's a massive influence on the safety in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he still dominates opinion, doesn't he, on these things?
He does. Which is really difficult to uphold an opinion while covered in that much tartan.
Yeah, from the hat to the shoes. Yes, every single item. Yes.
I saw him. I think it was Monaco Grand Prix this year. He rocked up, and of course, he had a tartan mask.
Of course he did. I think I saw a picture of that. He's almost become a parody of himself now.
I know, and you think what he's saying is making absolute sense, but I am really struggling at this point to take it seriously.
He looks so ridiculous. Yes. I cannot take the opinion seriously from a man in a tartan beret and a tartan mask and tartan jeans. Yes.
Oh dear. It's fine. It's fine. All right then. If we can't tempt you in, I tell you what. Because in the UK, it's a pain in the arse to watch Formula One without paying through the nose. However, on one of our free-to-air channels, you can watch the highlights. Would you watch the highlights of the first race with these new regulations?
If you asked me to, I would, and then I would give you an opinion as to whether it would make me watch any more of it.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that then.
Yeah, that's fine. I will give it a try, but I'm not promising, because it never has particularly floated my boat. Touring car, or even rallying. I have watched some rallying in the past, but Formula One has never done it for me.
Okay, well, we'll test the water with that. It's funny you should say touring cars and rallying, because that's the shape that you're going to buy. That's probably the biggest difference. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They are based on cars that you might actually own, and I think that whereas Formula One is just so abstract, and I just
I suppose
same reason I don't like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. It's all just so far removed. I like a little bit more realism in my entertainment, and Formula One just isn't.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, like you say, you use the rally and touring car example. I mean, it comes back to the old saying, where win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why they do it. Yeah, absolutely. You watch them doing it on telly, and then you go into the showroom and look at the 1.1L, and you think, "Oh, that's roughly the same shape as the one I was watching last night." I'll have that one. Yes, clearly that's why they spend a fortune on it, because it sells cars in the real world. I'm not sure they'd pour so much money into it if it didn't. But the connection, I think, clearly the DNA is far more removed from a Formula One car and your saloon car that happens to wear the same badge.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
I think that's where I lose interest, really, at that point.
I think what might lure you in is if I introduce you to the concept of the racing and the pit strategies, because they're quite finely tuned, and I know you like a spreadsheet.
Well, yeah, it's been known.
I reckon that could be my foot in the door.
A bit of data.
Yeah, I reckon we'll get to 2022. We'll get to March. We'll have you watch the highlights, and then we'll talk you through the data and the strategies, and that'll be it. I reckon you'll be well away. But you'll be on a pit wall before you know it.
Really, I'm not convinced that will happen. I wouldn't get too excited about that if I was you.
That's my challenge, and I'm going to succeed.
Are you? Okay,
yeah.
Well, trouble is, because you've said that, because you so want that to happen, I will now fight against it.
I don't mind resistance. I think you're going to reluctantly give in and go, no, you were right.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm not sure, but you've laid down the challenge now, so
yep. I'm having it, and all you've got to do is watch that first race and then listen to me talk for a little while.
Oh well, I'm getting used to that.
We've now got a little treat from the cutting room floor. During Phil's recording session, we covered another topic that was too good not to air. Right. Here's a topic that I think you're both going to relate to, I think. You have to pick one 90s car that you would convert to electric.
Ooh, that's a good
topic. There's no sitting on fences. You have to pick one car.
Do we have to do the work ourselves?
Nope.
That's going to be a problem.
No.
That is going to be an enormous problem. Yes.
You don't have to worry. There is no bodging it with AA batteries.
I was going to say, I'm thinking a couple of old car batteries and a washing machine motor and an old cam belt. And
away you go. No, you can have whatever budget you want for this. So
wow,
the world is your 90s oyster.
That's a tricky one. 90s car.
There's a lot to choose from there.
That's okay. You're allowed to whittle it down. I don't expect your final answer. You can discuss contenders.
Okay. Well, you're going to want something with quite a lot of room in it for batteries, because obviously the more batteries you get, the better range and everything, so more usable.
Well, so that's true, but
pretty much rules out anything mid-engine, really.
Well, you don't have to be as sensible as Mike's suggesting, though. You could just go for out-and-out performance, but 40-mile range.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Honestly, I'm not setting any caveats other than 90s and one car.
90s and one car. I have actually seen a few 90s cars that have been converted.
Well, there's chaps doing that 8 Series, isn't there?
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was thinking of.
The MW8 Series. That is lovely.
Yeah, it is. That same company has also done a Jag XK8.
Excellent. Have they really? Oh, gosh.
And an XJS. They've done, and a Volvo 240.
Well,
I have
So,
seen that. I mean, it's cars of that era, bold choice because you've got all the extra add-ons,
yeah,
like
because
air
you were starting.
conditioning
Yeah,
and
exactly. You were starting to get a few electronics bits on them by that age. So yeah, it's a harder thing to do, certainly.
especially the 8 Series. It'd be full of. I mean, I assume I've never worked on one, but it'd be full of sort of pumps and things driven off of cam belts or belts and
Yeah,
cams and stuff that are suddenly all gone.
the one
So
I've
it's a brave move.
the one I've seen didn't have much boot space left. A lot of the control electronics ended up there because presumably there wasn't any room for them in the rest of the car. But it does have quite a large engine bay, which they were obviously able to pack with batteries. So I think that car still had, like 150 miles range. It was still, it was quite a usable thing.
Quite usable.
That's pretty impressive, really.
I would worry about the weight distribution at that point.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You've got certainly on a rear-wheel drive car, you're going to have space for the prop shaft and things like that, so you can pack that with batteries. It's a matter of where you put them and what it does to the weight distribution and how different it is to how the car was originally and what's it going to do to its handling and all that kind of stuff. So it's not as straightforward as
because it's very difficult to put them under the floor in a pre-built car if you're not building it specially.
Transmission tunnel is the obvious place, which is where manufacturers who are doing like the Mini they're building the petrol car alongside the electric car, and they've sort of converted it. The only places they've got are under the boot floor, down the transmission tunnel, engine bay. You can't go underneath like you would in a ground up EV, as you say. So
I suppose you've got the space where the fuel tank was.
Yes, that's a prime spot. Yeah, you've got to fit the motor in, of course, somewhere as well. So
presumably all that would go under the bonnet.
Well, but then you think, would you want an 8 Series with a lot of electric and torque with what could be front-wheel drive at that point?
Well, I was going to say, you put the motor in front, you're doing front-wheel drive, aren't you? Which is...
Of course, I hadn't thought of that, yeah.
Yeah. You could put 2 motors in and make it 4-wheel drive, but then you're taking up even more space. So where you put things is the key, actually. That's one of the main decisions, is where does everything go?
Well, fortunately, in this scenario, you can pay a man for that.
And there are a few men around doing it.
I don't think this is my final answer, but when you're talking about space to put stuff, and I dare say probably someone's already done this, Range Rover Classic.
Yes, that has been done.
Okay.
Electric classic cars in Wales. Chap called Richard Morgan who runs that. He's done a 3-door Series 1, which was a
do you know what?
thing.
Yes, I've been thinking of a sort of a late one from the sort of the mid-90s, but yes, I have. Okay. I think I've seen the 70s one.
A very, very early one. Yeah, that is glorious. In fact, that is faster and handles better than it did originally.
Well, it's going to have a much better center of gravity, isn't it?
Well, exactly. And with that one, he actually slightly raised the boot floor and covered that in battery pack because he uses Tesla batteries and motors exclusively. And he raised the boot floor and he had the fuel tank where the spare wheel was, the whole engine bay, transmission tunnel. There was loads of room in that. And I think that car had a range well over 150 miles range.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one. Side topic on those ones where they're borrowing the Tesla gubbins with. I'm assuming he's using Tesla motors as well.
Yes, Tesla motors and Tesla batteries. Yeah, that's right.
Are you allowed to supercharge?
No.
Right. Okay.
No, supercharging works. There's a software handshake with that, and it checks the VIN number of the car. So if it isn't talking to a Tesla computer, it won't handshake. Okay. So it won't work. No, there's a lot of software behind that where the car has to authenticate to the charging network, and if none of that software is there, and the VIN number isn't on Tesla's naughty list, then it'll charge. But if the It has to have the software handshake has to be there, otherwise it won't do it. No, so
Okay.
they can't.
They don't even like salvage cars a lot of the time, do they?
No,
quite a lot of the time
No,
they
that's
get
right.
taken off the system.
They do stuff that's been written off, things like that. They remove. So no, they won't. You can. Most of the converters, classic car conversion companies, are using Tesla batteries and motors because they're the most flexible and the most powerful ones on the market. They've got the best price per kilowatt hour. It's the best range from the size of the battery pack. So, and there's a lot of crashed Teslas out there. So it's quite rich pickings in terms of buying motors. But no, they won't. It's a good question, but no, they won't supercharge.
No, that's fine. No, that you satisfied my curiosity on that. Having a digression there, that must have given you chaps some time to think about your 90s car choices.
I've got some thoughts.
Good. Go on then. You've got some thoughts ready.
Well, I'm thinking that for me, electric cars are ideal in cities, short trips, and you need a small car for a city. And 90s, you've got a lot of very good little super minis.
Yep.
So Citroen AX or 106, Peugeot 205, anything like that. I think even going a bit old school, a Fiat Panda or something like that. And again, it's probably been done, but I think it's got to. I think it'd have to be a small car.
Interesting. So you're still going down a slightly practical route there. You're going, well,
I think so.
You're going down a small commute or a city car.
Well, the only other one that's come to mind is Mazda MX-5.
Now that has been done.
That has been done.
I'd be amazed if it hadn't been. Yeah.
There's a firm in the UK that's doing those. Yeah. And it's cracking. Again, not a huge amount of range because you haven't got a lot of space in that car because it's a small car to start with, but tremendous performance. I mean, just
the fun.
Yeah, just ridiculous acceleration. Again,
so that just seems practical to me.
It would be practical.
The firm that's done those hasn't used Tesla motors because they were simply too powerful. It would tear it to pieces.
Self-destruct, wouldn't it?
It would. You put a P85 motor in an MX-5, it's just going to tear itself apart. So they've used some different ones, but that has been done, and it's glorious. It really is.
And that's a good car to do.
Yeah,
they've chose well there to focus in on those. So, do you think a city car is going to be your final answer?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, but then we're going to leave you with that. You have to pin down which one it's going to be.
Fair enough.
It's too open ended.
It is a bit. I've not decided which one yet.
Okay,
because there's a lot to choose from in that category, isn't there? As you said, there's a lot there. Yeah.
What about you, Mike? Where are your thoughts heading?
I was for a moment thinking a Bentley, a Turbo R, or a Mulsanne, or something like that. The big old boxy Bentleys, but then I thought
plenty of room.
Plenty of room, but it's very heavy. Which, of course, that's going to blunt your performance and your range a lot if you're considering those items. Personal choice, I'd probably do an XJ. I'd probably do a Jag XJ. Yeah, I'd do an X308 XJ. And of course, it wouldn't matter what the source car had. I mean, it'd be very tempting to do an XJR, but that's completely pointless because you're going to remove
that's the thing.
Everything that makes it the R. So you might as well buy an XJ6.
And so you might as well keep the XJR intact for weekend use.
Absolutely. The XJR is more valuable as it is. You buy a decent XJ6 with minimal rust and a nice interior. It could be completely shot mechanically because all of that's just going to be taken out. So I would do an X308 XJ because that's a very sleek, good-looking car. It's got loads of room in it for batteries, and you might even make that four-wheel drive with twin motors.
Yeah, I reckon you stand a chance of that.
Yeah, big boot, huge engine bay, but still a big, comfortable cruiser. I'd do an X308 XJ6. That would be my.
That's
choice.
A good
Yeah, that's it. No in an R in. Job done.
Nope. Nope, I reckon. And I've not seen that done. I've seen an XK8 and I've seen an XJS done in person. I've seen those. I had a good poke around with a couple of those at Silverstone, but I've not seen anybody do an XJ. But that's not to say it hasn't been done.
No, that's it. No, but like you say, I've not seen one, so
no,
it's a good shout.
I think so, and they can be bought for a couple of grand, quite decent ones.
Yeah, you could easily be sitting on something that's going to hold value once you do it.
As long as it's not rusted to hell, and as long as the interior isn't too torn up, it doesn't matter if it's a non-runner. It could be completely knackered mechanically; it's irrelevant.
Definitely.
So that would be my choice, and I would enjoy that a lot.
Definitely,
it would suit the character of the car, actually.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah, that's a good point. I think it would. Yeah,
you've nailed that. You've totally grasped the 90s there. I like that.
I think so. Yes, I think so. I think that I'm happy with that choice. That's going
to be. Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one to convert. But like you say, you don't have to worry about that.
No, that's it. For this scenario, you have a man.
We're hiring a gang to do that. Yes, absolutely.
Well,
so
I've had a thought. I've had a thought. I first jumped on the thought of going, I'll tell you what I'd like. 5 Series, as in an E34 touring.
Oh.
And I thought that'd be it. That'd be the one.
Practicality,
fast, and who doesn't love a fast estate?
We love a fast estate car. We all love a fast estate car. Absolutely.
But as appealing as that would be, I went off on a complete tangent, and I've gone for my final answer is going to be something that is not in the slightest bit practical. And in terms of packaging, I don't think I'm going to get much range. But I think it's going to look the part.
Okay.
So,
intrigued now.
I think you're intrigued now, and then you'll go, oh yeah,
of course, yeah.
No,
I
say, oh yeah, of course. I reckon Phil will go, oh yeah. Why didn't I think you'd go for that?
Okay.
I would convert a Subaru SVX.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, you're certainly going to get ample performance into that, aren't you? I mean, that's going to go like stink.
I like that because it's a slightly futuristic-y sort of car.
That was it. Yeah. It looks like it should be tremendous and electric and wonderful. I mean, some
cars don't they? Some cars do look like they always should have been electric, and when it's why aren't they in the first place? Yes.
But yeah, that's it. The split windows. I love that thing. I'd have one in a heartbeat. I love those cars.
There's not many of those.
Interesting choice. As like the XJ6, I think it does lend itself very nicely to how it looks. That's spot on. Like you say, that should perhaps always have been electric. They should never have tried to make a petrol one in the first place. Very interesting choice. Very rare car.
Definitely, yeah. I think, but
you'll have trouble finding your source car there. I think you don't.
I think we'll be. We can spare one to do an electric conversion.
Oh yes,
yeah, it'd be fine. I'll let the man worry about that.
That's going to be a lot of rewiring going on in there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't mind a bit of soldering, but I'd rather someone else did that.
A bit of soldering.
Well, mind you, I suppose all the electronics that it's got are all just the 12-volt stuff that's still going to run, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose. True. Probably isn't going to make that much difference to all the gadgets inside it.
No, it's only the drivetrain you're really changing. Yeah.
It's like the Mitsubishi 3000 GTs. A sort of similar thing, isn't it? It's sort of very complicated. But it's all electronics, isn't it? So
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it would never be a 3000 GT though, because they've been too pimped over the years, and it's ruined the character of them. And it's the same reason it wouldn't be an FTO either. The amount of those that have been.
No, and they're not quite the same anyway. The Subaru is a bit more unusual, isn't it? It's a bit more unique.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. I'd have that.
There's one along those lines that I think you might enjoy. That again has the same sort of look, and perhaps it gives you the feel that it always should have been electric. It's
What's
the
that?
Toyota Serra.
Oh yes.
Oh
and
yes,
lovely.
Gullwing doors.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Gullwing. Yeah. That's another one. You look at it and say, why is that not electric? It's almost reminiscent of the GM EV1.
That's right. Yep.
It has that sort of feel to it.
Lovely little thing.
That's another one. Yeah, lovely little thing. That would work. Again, you're not going to get massive range out of it because of the size of the car, but performance and in bucket loads.
That's it, and you're going to look tremendous doing it.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, that would work. That would. I
would.
almost regret not choosing that now. Actually. No, I'll stick with my Jag. That's fine. I'm a Jag man. I'll stick with my Jag.
I think the Serras are all grey imports, aren't they? I don't think they ever brought them in officially.
No,
they didn't. They're all grey imports. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Well, that's fine.
They missed their mark with a few of those, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They really did. I mean, there's some stuff that we would just lap up. I mean, some of the smaller stuff like that, the cappuccino or the beet or anything like that.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah,
wonderful little things. But I mean, all of this is skirting around the issue of which city car it's going to be.
We've got to come back to you.
It's going to be, it's still. You've both come up with some very good ideas there. I feel like I've copped out a bit, but no, I think it's going to be something small and fun and simple, and I think it would be like a 106 GTI or something like that, a sporty 106.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's quite a good choice because I mean Renault have just announced that they're relaunching the 5 as a pure electric.
Yes, I think that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. But it's small and it's lightweight and it's fun to drive. Yeah, I'd think that'd be quite a good, fun little car.
I think so.
Oh, it would undoubtedly. Yeah. All the kind of punch and performance of the hot hatch that it was when it was new. Yeah, I can see that working. Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to upset everyone and butcher a rally into an electric car.
No, there are some that need to be left. As long as the government continue to allow petrol to be used, then they should be left alone.
That one alone.
Yes, we won't go there. No, but yes, I agree that there are some things that should be left alone. But an ordinary one,
I think so. Probably a sporty one, not a diesel with squidgy cloth seats and it would have to be a sporty one.
It wouldn't matter if it was a diesel, of course, because you're going to take all that out.
You're going to take all that out, but I mean, because you're going to get quite a decent bit of performance out of something that light. I would have thought. Like I say, you're not going to get many batteries in it.
No, it's not going to be the biggest range machine, but in terms of performance, it's going to melt your face. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhat more than it originally had.
It's going to be a wild ride. Again, you may not be able to use Tesla stuff because it's just going to tear it to pieces. But there are others. Other stuff.
And I just like the idea of the practicality of that sort of thing would actually work. I mean, it's certainly more appealing than a G-Wiz for getting around London.
Yes, everything is. Yes, yes. Walking around London is more appealing than a G-Wiz.
In the pissing rain.
Yes, with no hat. Yes, absolutely. No, that was not a good start. That did nothing to aid the cause of electric cars, I'm afraid.
No, couple that with the Top Gear publicity, and that was the end of those.
Oh, they loved the G-Wiz, didn't they?
Image is such a big thing with cars, though, isn't it? I mean, it's daft. Even if something's a decent car, if it gets a bad shot of publicity when it comes out, that's really the end of it.
It's had it, absolutely, and certainly with men like us who very much
discerning gentlemen.
Yeah, that's it. That's the phrase.
What he said. Let's go with that.
He did put it better. We very much identify with the cars that we drive, and as you say, image is everything. And if something gets a poor image, even if it's actually quite a good car, and that's just the end.
No, which is why I have an Austin Princess on my driveway.
I think you'll find it's a Leyland Princess.
I do apologise.
You've let us
I
down
realise
badly there,
I've
Phil.
basically breaking my own rule there, but yes. No, that is the thing. It only takes a couple of unfair reviews
It does. Yeah,
or
it does.
decades of poor workmanship.
I don't know what you mean.
That doesn't help either, no.
But there's nothing wrong with the Princess.
That's a whole other topic.
Apart from when I last drove it, you said, "Oh, just take that," and off I go, and wonder why I'm getting strange looks at roundabouts as I'm operating the indicator stalk, but nothing's happening.
In fact, I'm sure I did tell you.
You didn't. I got back and you went, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was meant to say."
Oh, so I did. Yeah, so I did tell you.
Yeah, but when the journey was complete.
Yes, minor issue. They
To
did.
be
They
fair,
did work. If you jiggled the stalk, they would usually work. But you know.
I bet you didn't
Yes.
get strange looks. There's lots of people in brand new cars who don't indicate.
That's
yeah,
true.
Yeah, they've not been
And
fitted to a lot of new models.
breaking
they're
the
just not there.
90s rule, breaking the 90s rule, I'd quite like an electric Princess or Allegro, something like that.
An electric Princess, again, that would lend itself to it so well. Yeah.
Again, it was a relatively futuristic design. All right, horribly
It was.
compromised by the times it got to production.
Yes.
But at the time, I mean, it came
Like
out the
most
same year as
BL
the
cars.
Citroen CX. Or same
Yeah.
year, or very nearly the same year, close. And they were, in theory, they were both very close in concept. It's just that unfortunately, only one of them got executed properly. But I do think, I do think that would make quite a well, it'd certainly be unusual.
It would.
Again, I haven't seen it done. It's probably
Be the
only
only one in the
it's probably
car
only it probably would. Probably only a matter of time before somebody does. But again, it would lend itself very well to that. Yeah.
because they never really got decent performance.
No.
No.
When they were new, so.
But the smoothness and the quietness would certainly work well for the Princess. Yeah.
It would. I'm not convinced it would be my choice for a Leyland car to convert. I think an SD1 is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I can see that.
For the wafting element.
Very wafty, and again, like the Princess, as Phil said, quite modern and futuristic in its design at the time.
Well, it was a Ferrari Daytona, if you squint.
well, yeah.
if you yeah. Yeah. If you don't look at it quite straight.
Sometimes the ideal cars for conversion are the ones that don't identify with one or more of the engines they came with.
Yeah.
And to me, I was thinking
about its engine. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you said Rover, I immediately thought P6, but I thought, because really, I know you can have a 2-litre or 2.2, but really the V8 is the proper P6.
It's the only one, yeah.
And I'm not sure. While an electric one of those would be quite cool, I don't feel it would be quite right.
No, I agree.
Possibly the same with the SD1, dare I say it?
I guess
again, there are many options.
It depends on the model, doesn't it? But yeah, cars that are very identified with their engine. Well, it goes back to what I was saying about not converting an XJR. You convert the XJ6 because it's less about the engine. It's more about its waftability. Ultimate quietness and smoothness and comfort is what that would be about.
When all this conversion sort of ideas started kicking off, they did one of the first ones I saw being done was a Citroen DS. And I thought that was perfect because, again, massively futuristic car, but the engines were nothing special. In fact, I might be wrong. I think at least one of them was actually from the Traction Avant from the previous generation.
I think you could be right.
I don't think the engines never lived up to the car, really.
No, that car is not about its engine. Not in any way. No, absolutely. Converting that to electric absolutely makes sense. It's the best thing to do to it. Yeah, I agree. That would be glorious. Yeah,
that's the one. I mean, closely followed in the Citroen range by the SM.
Yes. Yeah.
Much rarer beast, of course.
That must have been done.
You'd have thought so. I mean, if it's not, then we're jumping on that idea.
Yeah, we're having that. We're having that if we can find one. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll convert it if you buy it. Yeah.
Good,
yeah. They're not available for Jag money.
But
that's
again,
for sure.
you're breaking your own rule there because that car is it's not all about its engine, but it's Maserati. Am I right in saying it's a Maserati engine?
Yeah, you are right.
In the Citroen
Yeah,
body shell?
it's true. It's true.
But it may not be their finest hour in terms of mechanicals.
No, true. That like
actually,
DS, it would work. Yeah.
Oh, actually, if you're going down a Maserati route, I think the 3200. I know it's a later one, but one of those electric.
Well, we've skipped forward a few generations there, but yeah,
we have. You've rocketed forward there. Yes,
I have, but it has to be very specific. The one with the boomerang lights.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Rather than the beef burger lights.
Yeah. Sod those.
Yeah. Yes. Well, actually, it's more of a kebab, to be honest. Yeah, boomerang. Okay, yeah, you really have jumped forwards in generations.
Yeah, sorry, I just got excited for a minute.
No, that would work. Again, that would work. And it would probably be more reliable.
Well, it would, because I think, obviously, when they went to the upgraded rear lights, I say upgrade, worse.
Yes.
That's when they actually got slightly more reliable, because it ended up being a Ferrari engine, I believe.
Yes.
But the early ones were Maserati engines, which weren't utterly tip-top, apparently, by all accounts.
More characterful.
So whip that out, pop some batteries in a motor in there, and you are on to a winner, I think.
You could use a Tesla powertrain in that. That would be fine. Yeah. One of those with P85 performance, and you're away.
You're improving the car then. You're not taking away too much from it. You're actually improving it. I'm sure some people would disagree, but you're enhancing it. You're making it more reliable and more usable.
That's the key to it, isn't it? That's the key, and that's you're finding a way that car can be used and maintained in the future. There is going to come a time where internal combustion engines simply will not be allowed to drive into towns and cities. It's going to happen, and converting stuff like that will give it a whole new lease of life. And as you say, it'll make it better than it ever was. Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.